Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout metropolitan New Orleans and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. It was a very bad weekend for New Orleans area teams. Start on Sunday, the Saints just absolutely blew a game against a bad football team. It's that simple. They lost to a team that had lost 16 of 17 games in the NFL, lost to a team with a rookie quarterback who wasn't at 100%, lost to a team they had a 21-10 lead against. I don't know where else to go with this. Very bad loss.
It reminds me a lot of that game against Kansas City 3 years ago. But at that point they were a struggling football team, and that was of course the year with all of the post Bounty chaos, if you will. But seeming like they should have been in control of that game, let control get away, and ended up losing the game in overtime, and that's what ended up happening. And so many places to go with this, but I guess the one play that really kind of defined this game was that the play where your two defenders run into each other, the ball pops up in the air, Delanie Walker picks up the deflection and runs 61 yards for a touchdown. You make the pick right there. You go down and score because the offense was really in sync early on in the game. You've got a chance to put that game away. It's going to be 21-3 at that point. And, just like I say, just a lot of strange things all over the place happened in that game. And, and it's, the end of it is a loss, and now you're really behind the eight ball. If you were starting to think you were back in the playoff race, Minnesota winning, they're out there now. And I mean, while Atlanta continues to come back to the pack a little bit, you're still 2 games behind Atlanta. The good news is you do have a tiebreaker there advantage.
Yeah, of course, Minnesota winning means the Rams lost. But still, they're not out of it by any stretch, but they blew a golden opportunity at home as a prohibitive favorite against a bad football team. And those are the kind that are hard to make up. They'll go to D.C. this weekend. We'll see what happens. But that botched interception killed them. Fumbling a punt early killed them as well. But all of that said, indoors, 46-yard field goal, basically to win the game, and you can't execute.
Snap, hole, kick continues to be a problem. I tell you, if I'm Justin Drescher right now, it's the one piece you haven't changed. And look, Luke McCown is hurt. Don't undervalue that, although Thomas Morstead has held a lot in his career here. But if I'm Justin Drescher, I hope I'm renting and not buying right now, just with everything that's going on, because he's the one piece that hasn't been touched in all of this.
Then, of course, the other professional team is the New Orleans Pelicans, and they're 0-6. And you can't fall much further behind the eight ball if you're the Pelicans and have any chance in the Western Conference to make the top 8. They know that. We know that. The American people know that. To that end, the Jimmer is back.
Got to go somewhere, right? And, you're able in the NBA when you've got at least 4 players injured or sick or whatever the case may be and unable to be active for a 2-week stretch, you then become eligible for a roster exemption. And that's what's happening here. You're hitting the 2-week mark of the season as we head into Tuesday, and that will enable the Pelicans to add a roster spot as a result, because as we know, this roster has been decimated by injuries. And, is Jimmer Fredette the answer? I don't know, but at least it gives you a healthy body to suit up. They only had 9 on Saturday at Dallas. You're facing a back-to-back right off the bat here this week, Tuesday, Wednesday. That means we'll only see Drew Holiday one of those 2 games. Don't know which one yet, whether it would be at home on Tuesday against Dallas or on the road Wednesday against Atlanta.
Yep, Dallas in town, just lost at Dallas most recently. Of course, LSU, their bubble burst at Alabama. They got popped pretty good, 30-16. It really wasn't that close. Alabama controlled the game from start to finish. LSU couldn't run it at all, and they couldn't stop the run. So everything else aside, you stop right there. They absolutely got whipped up front on both sides.
That's where this game was decided. And, we talked a lot about the running backs going in, and obviously, they're the ones that get the headlines. They're the ones that carry the football. But this game got decided in the trenches at the line of scrimmage. The offensive line for LSU could not open any significant holes for Leonard Fournette as a result. He had his, arguably his worst game as a collegian, certainly his worst game of the year. He'd rushed for over 150 yards in every game this season. He gets held to 31, by Alabama. So The good thing is there's a game next week. You get a chance to bounce back against Arkansas, who had an unbelievable win on the road against Ole Miss on Saturday.
Yeah, they'll be unbelievably fired up, and they're playing well, and that was one of the more incredible games you'll ever see in terms of how it ended. So this will be a tough task for LSU, who struggled with Arkansas in recent years anyway. So that figured to be the case, and that should be the case again Saturday night. A very tough game on both sides. Tulane, homecoming, I didn't see it. I was doing a high school game, and based on what I heard, I'm glad I didn't.
I did, and watching through raindrops, it was just a miserable day for football. You experienced it on a high school, and I saw it there. It was just one of those days. And look, I give the Tulane faithful credit. They showed up. It was homecoming. The alumni came out, and people sitting out there in their ponchos. Look, Tulane fans aren't used to that. You played indoors for 40 years, and that's the first game that you've played in the rain since you moved into Yeoman Stadium. They still came out, but the defense gave a winning performance. The offense, again, didn't. And at least one side of the ball continues to perform. You get the offense up and going, you maybe have a chance to do something here at the end of the season. But essentially, barring something really strange in terms of how things break, your bowl hopes are now over.
No question. High school football and the playoffs have arrived, and the pairings are there, and 207 teams will play in the playoffs out of 294. That in itself tells you something. You've got teams with no wins, teams with 1 wins, and a whole bunch with losing records, and a bloated playoff format, which you can read about at sportsnoah.com, and what I have to say about that. Plus, I have another story that breaks down the matchups and what to expect in brackets. So, and Rob Mercado will have one as well for you at sportsnoah.com later today. Looking forward to that, and what should be a fun weekend.
It should be a fun weekend. We will have a final edition of the season of the first NBC Bank Prep Showcase. Stay tuned for details on that to come. Friday Night Live, sportsnoah.com. You catch the replay Saturday at noon on WHNO. Possibly some other information as well. And, by the way, speaking of high school playoffs, volleyball, big day for volleyball on Monday. You've got second-round matches everywhere, 40 of them. The winners all advance to the Pontchartrain Center Thursday for the quarterfinals. We've got one of them here at sportsnoah.com. Monday afternoon at 5. It's a 7-10 match in Division II between Cabrini and Terrebonne. Figures to be a good one.
Yeah, real good matchup. Watch it live at sportsnoah.com. You will enjoy wrestling last week, volleyball this week, football this weekend. Doesn't get any better than the first NBC Bank Prep Showcase. And that's our first NBC Bank Prep Showcase commentary for today. Brought to you by First NBC Bank. 35 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNoah.com. Lenny, have a great week.
We'll see you later this week.
For Lenny, I'm Kenny. You have a great week as well, and God bless you.